According to the internet, these are 4 of the ugliest miniatures in Warhammer history. They have a long history of being neglected on forums on the internet and bashed on in the local gaming stores. But today we're going to prove everyone wrong. In my opinion, these are some of the most iconic and beautiful miniatures in their own right from the past history of Warhammer. Because beauty is obviously in the eye of the beholder. So we are going to try to paint these 4 miniatures using modern day techniques on these old models to prove that these minis are in fact beautiful. So, in this week's lineup, we have Lord of the Undead, Nagash, Lady of the Vines, Ariel, the first female Space Marine, Gabs, and lastly and prettiest, the legendary Orc Cheerleader. So, do you think we can do some justice to these 4 wonders?
Yes.
Yes. I, for one, surely hope so, because I feel like Nagash and Ariel have such a place close to my heart, because both of these were miniatures that I just drooled over as a kid in the game store. Let's just get at it.
Woo!
So my first miniature is the Orc Cheerleader. This beauty was released in 1988, when I was but 1 year old, for Blood Bowl 2nd edition. And this fantasy football orc lady was designed by the legendary Kev Adams, who was not only a prolific orc designer, but probably one of the biggest ones. He's pretty much set the tone for all of the old Rogue Trader orcs that are some of my favorite miniatures in all of Warhammer history. When the Orc Cheerleader was released, you could buy these miniatures in lots of 4 for £2.50. Today it is sold on eBay with prices ranging from £15 to £25. This specific copy was actually sent by one of my viewers. Okay, I think I'm ready to start painting. I really wanted to try to bring out some volumes in the Orc Cheerleader and not just paint it the classic Games Workshop way. The problem though, there is pretty much no volumes whatsoever on the miniature, so I had to kind of try to improvise and create some with the brush instead of following the shapes of the miniature. Because the face is just flat and cylindrical, so it's really tough to bring out some of these details. But I'm gonna power through and hopefully I'm gonna end up with an amazing looking mini. Which one do you want to go with now?
Gabs.
Let's go. Back in White Dwarf number 99. The date? March 1988. About 12 years before Lucas saw the light of day. This miniature was ready for painting. And Gabs was even cheaper than the Orc Cheerleader, as you could buy them in packs of 5 for £2.50. And considering how many cool and unique miniatures there were in the Rogue Trader Adventurer series, I think that was a steal. Today, on the other hand, both Gabs and Jane, the 2 female Space Marines from the set, cost quite a lot more. And now it's time for Lucas to start painting.
So, Gabs, it was actually a really pleasant surprise to paint it. I had a really fun time. The mini is perfectly simple and has like super nice shapes to make a really easy non-metallic metal armor look really cool. However, the face, there's just something weird going on. One side is twice the size as the other side, so you have to sort of sculpt with the brush. And even then it's difficult, but I think I pulled it off.
So the 2 first are done. I'm actually really excited to paint both, so I'm gonna let you pick which one you want to do first, and I'll take the one that you don't take.
I take Big Buggy Lady.
Big Buggy Lady for you, I'll take Nagash. In 1994, Gary Morley was still a new, fresh designer at Games Workshop. And over the past couple of years, I've actually gotten to know Gary. And through my calls with him, I've learned that at that time, Games Workshop needed a lot of new models. And by today's standard, they had to sculpt them at a ridiculously high speed. So what's up with Nagash and why is he among the ugly meanies in the history books of Warhammer? Well, first of all, we now know that Gary had to stress to finish the miniature. And when he had, the headquarters wasn't happy with the face of Nagash. So with an even tighter limit and maybe feeling a bit angry towards this manager, Gary designed another face that he knew wouldn't look quite as good as the first one he did, so they would still pick the first one. Unfortunately for Gary, they loved it. And with that, the history of Nagash was sealed. Okay, I'm gonna try to make a more moody version of Nagash. He's often painted in a quite boring, either gray or purple scale, and I'm gonna try to get some reds in there. I think that's gonna be amazing. I just want to talk with you quickly about this week's sponsor and my favorite shirt brand, Into the AM. Thank you, Lucas. They make the most awesome graphic shirts on the internet. Not only t-shirts, but also hoodies like this and full print shirts like this one. These are my new favorites. I wear them all the time, as you've seen in all of the videos we do. And the best thing is, if you follow the link down below, you can get 3 of these awesome shirts for 60 bucks. That's a really good deal. And if you follow the link and enter code Squidmar, you get 10% off on top of that, meaning that you get a really good price, especially considering how good the quality is. And if you want a high quality shirt with simple prints, these are 3 for $49.95. Just go to the intotheam.com/Squidmar or follow the link down below. Now let's get back to painting. My plan with Nagash was to paint something a different color scheme than what he's normally done. These days, he's mostly painted like a black-gray. In the old days, he was always made purple. But I felt like red and gold would really pop on him, so I started out doing that and then adding some green glow from his eyes and from the staff. And yeah, I feel like I really got a nice mood on him. And now that I see this miniature in hand, I am just in awe of how many details he managed to get into the miniature. Because if you look at the staff and his hat, he sculpted this by hand using green stuff, and all of these ghostly, spooky faces carved into that is just... A few years later, in 1996, Gary Morley was at it again. He was tasked with the mission to redesign the entire Wood Elf line, my favorite army from the 90s, and the miniatures that I grew up playing Warhammer with. Heck, the archers were even my first ever purchased miniatures box. And Orion and the Wood Elf Dragon just lift the entire line to a new level. And in my opinion, the Way Watchers still kind of hold up to today's standard. Ariel though, she was kind of a dark horse in the lineup, for a couple of different reasons. And even if I personally yearned after that model, there were some things that now made her into somewhat of a meme. The proportions of the figures are a little bit uneven. As an example, her hands are very different in size. Probably because of the limited time they had when they designed the figures. And the painting techniques used back then to then paint these miniatures were really limited and quite different from what we do today. So there were not many painters that managed to make this sculpt beautiful. She often ended up looking like a dollar store Sarah Jessica Parker. And personally, I never liked the color scheme of the wings on the box art. They really didn't do it for me. I do think Lucas can lift this one to another level though. The funny thing, this miniature has a story that not many people know about, and that is about Ariel's wings. Because these pretty butterfly wings were supposed to be bent. They weren't supposed to be thick and flat like they are, but during the mold making process, the mold maker was sort of new, so he accidentally heated up the green stuff too much, and they went back to sort of a flat shape instead of the bent shape that Gary had designed them in, completely changing the look of the miniature. Are you happy with your Ariel?
Very much.
Should we show them a grand reveal of her?
Yes.
Do you want to let them know that it's time?
Grand reveal!
This was a fun experience. I had a really tough time with Nagash and Cheerleader. They were more difficult than I thought they would be.
Painting metal minis is not very fun.
Yeah, I'm so happy they have plastic now.
Yes.
Massive thanks to all the patrons for sponsoring this video. And Into the AM, they make some awesome shirts. I am so happy with these hoodies. I wear them all the time now. Like this though. It's cold out. See you next week. Bye bye.